May Jesus and Mary be loved by all hearts. A month ago, Xavier Reyes Ayral caused an internet sensation by spewing more inaccuracies about the apparition of LaSalette. I chose to just ignore it. My regular viewers know that Ayral's scholarship is abysmal, and Catholics are better off to ignore whatever he's saying because they risk being fed lies and nonsense. Unfortunately, John Henry Weston gave him an interview, and that gave Xavier a big platform. A stream of inquiries reached me, begging me to set the record straight. I can't play clips or I get tagged by YouTube, so I'll read his words and point out the errors. Fortunately, it was only a 7-minute interview, but Ayral gave wrong information through almost all of it. Ayral responds to John Henry regarding LaSalette. Quote, although there only was one single solitary apparition, the most shocking of them all was that in this particular instance, the one you're referring to, the Blessed Virgin Mary, among so many other shocking revelations, stated that the day would come when there would be, in English, in the King's English, 2 worm-ridden popes succeeding one another. False. In the careful research and documents on the secret of LaSalette published by Father Laurenton and Father Courteville, the phrase worm-ridden popes never appears either in French or in English in the secret. Now, Ayral again. This was a shock for a great many authorities, a shock and even a revelation which had been attempted to be hidden for decades, even over a century. So this is one effect. False. No one was shocked because it was never in the secret of LaSalette. Ayral loves to use the word shock because doom and gloom generates clicks. Our Lady is never interested in shocking or terrorizing her children. Ayral again. Marie Jeheni, stigmatist visionary, was informally approved by her local bishop. On June the 18th, 1876, she stated that there would be also 2 popes, one that would follow the other, that would lead the church in a false direction. So, where is the evidence? If Marie Julie Jeheni indeed spoke about 2 successive popes, Xavier Ayral should provide a citation and a reference. He doesn't give his listeners any such courtesy. He expects American Catholics to bow down to him and trust him because he has a French accent. Ayral, this only confirms what a few decades before the Virgin Mary revealed to Melanie Calvet at LaSalette and Maximin Girard. False. The phrase was never mentioned in the published versions of The Secret of LaSalette by either visionary. Ayral, to that effect, we know that there are other visionaries as well, more contemporary ones, who very clearly stated similar revelations from our Lord and from the Blessed Virgin Mary. Evidence? Who are these contemporary visionaries? So Ayral has personally vetted these anonymous visionaries, but he won't share his vetting process with his listeners. John Henry says, with regard to LaSalette, you mentioned, Xavier, that there it is said that there would be 2 worm-ridden popes. And that's the same apparition that said Rome will lose the faith and become the seat of the Antichrist. But you also mentioned that these particular messages were hidden. Just briefly, tell us the story of their hiding and then how they were discovered. Ayral. The local bishop of Grenoble, the diocese of the time, had jurisdiction over this obscure little village on top of the Alpine mountains. And yes, after many years, it took about 5 or 6 years, John Henry, for the bishop and the dicastery of the doctrine of the faith from the Vatican to investigate most meticulously this apparition case, as they should, as they always did. False. It was not many years. 5 years is very fast. The apparition of LaSalette was in 1846. The saintly Bishop de Bruyard began the investigation right away, and with a nod from Rome, he solemnly approved it as supernatural in September of 1851. Bishop de Bruyard and Pope Pius IX had read the secrets in July of 1851, which instructed Melanie to make them known at a later date. So the entire apparition was approved. Errol continues, and there was a time when in a particular fold of leather placed inside a metal box was sent expeditiously from Grenoble with the seal of the diocese to be forgotten and lost in the depths of the Vatican Library, only to be found by utter accident in 1999 by Reverend Father Michel Courteville, whom, by the way, I know personally, and who is going to come on our show. False. The story of the discovery of the secret of LaSalette is fully recounted by the authors in the book of that title, and there is no mention of a leather pouch or a metal box, nor was the discovery an accident. It was public knowledge that the children had sent their written secrets to Pope Pius IX, and that his successor, Pope Leo, was very interested in the secret of LaSalette, or the whole apparition, so much so that he called Melanie to Rome to consider how to found the religious order that Our Lady asked for. It was perfectly logical to assume that these written documents were in the archives of Pope Leo XIII. In the summer of 1999, as soon as the archives of that papacy were opened, Father Courteville applied for permission. He had to wait his turn because the library could only accommodate a few scholars at a time. At the end of the summer, in late September, he spent 2 full weeks rifling through dusty envelopes until he found the right envelope on October 2nd, 1999. This was hardly an accidental discovery. Errol continues, I would very much like to introduce Father Courteville to you, John Henry. I'm certain he would be delighted to come to you and answer any questions you'd like to ask him. That is a false expectation. Errol has made this claim over several years, namely that Father Courteville will come and appear for an audience. But since Errol is stating falsehoods, it would be highly embarrassing for Errol to invite this priest to publicly come and contradict him, so Errol is never going to do it. He continues, Father Courteville was making a study that summer on LaSalette, and he discovered this case of leather, which was sealed and tied with a string, and had the seal of the Diocese of Grenoble. So when he opened it, he finally found the original documents of those secrets, including the one which, by the way, was also related by the world-famous Father Malachi Martin. I'm sure you've heard of him. He was a famous Irish-American Jesuit, exorcist as well, who openly and publicly revealed this fact as well. False. Malachi Martin claimed to have read the secret of Fatima, not the secret of LaSalette. Neither Father Courteville nor Father Laurentin make any mention of Father Martin's documents being mixed up with the archives of Pope Leo XIII. That's preposterous. Errol. So these particular truths were soon enough, along with other more shocking secrets, revealed and written through a book that was published under the name of Father Laurentin and Father Courteville, who at the time, in 1999, and until the early years 2000, acted as Father Laurentin's assistant. So they both co-wrote it and published it, and it was even said in French circles, that is, in Mariological French circles, that the book written by Father Laurentin and Father Courteville was John Paul II's favorite nightstand reading. That's the best I can tell you as of right now. End quote. False. Father Courteville was never Father Laurentin's assistant, and Errol isn't offering us a shred of evidence that the discovery of the secret of LaSalette was St. John Paul's favorite bedside book. Découverte was published in French in 2001. Pope John Paul was suffering from advanced Parkinson's. His trembling made it difficult for him to hold a book in his hands. Did someone read Découverte to him at bedtime? What evidence does Errol offer that St. John Paul ever saw the book, let alone perused it frequently? So John Henry concludes, hello everyone, this is John Henry Weston for LifeSite News. We hope you found this video insightful. For more content like this, be sure to check out the links in the description below. So now you know, be sure not to check out more content like that. Does Melanie ever mention Worm-Ridden Popes? Yes, we have one instance. In number 21 of the 23 letters written to and preserved by Father Isidore Roubaud. Theotokens have been working on an English translation of Melanie's 500 letters written in French. Holy Water Books will publish these in the coming year, God willing. But first we want to offer English-speaking Catholics 2 classic biographies of Maximin, because this year we are celebrating the 150th anniversary of his death. Here are the pertinent parts of Melanie's letter written to Father Roubaud from Galatina, Italy, September 30th, 1894. Quote, I come now to the question of the secret. I can only repeat the same thing, my most reverend Father. I have not seen, I do not see a great pope or a great monarch before a great, terrible, and general tribulation for the whole of Christianity. But before this time there will twice be a peace of little duration, 2 popes, worm-ridden, flat, and doubtful. Note, the French expression plots is from platter, hence the colloquial expression of flat, which can imply spiritless, uninspiring. Melanie continues, I do not know the prophecy of St. Malachi, but even so I say what I think, ready to submit if I do not say right, and to keep silent while keeping my conviction to myself, unless I say something heretical, which I reject in advance, so as to submit to what the Church of Jesus Christ believes and teaches. I do not believe, therefore, that the Antichrist will put to death the last pope, having seen in vision that after the disappearance of the Antichrist, there will be more than one pope, the last of whom will be put to death by the Antichrist, as the New Testament understands it, when it says the Antichrist has already come. Note, Melanie is obviously referring to a lesser Antichrist, as mentioned in 1 John 2:18. Children, it is the final hour, and as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, so now many Antichrists have come. Therefore, we know that it is the last hour. Melanie continues, the secret does not say when wars end, when plagues and earthquakes end. Therefore, I believe that the church will be eclipsed for a few days. It will be a great trial for the predestined and a triumph for the Antichrist and for his apostles, his ministers. Yes, certainly, after a war, there will be a peace of 25 years. There will then be a king on the throne of France. Ah, what things will have transpired. The universal last judgment will not come immediately after the fall of the Antichrist into hell, and that is certain. Then there will be a peaceful and true peace on earth. No more sects, I think she means Protestants, no more heresies. Charity will flourish. It will be the reign of Jesus Christ and Mary. I have to answer many letters every day, and moreover, I have my hours of prayer and to receive visitors. I renew my gratitude and ask you to bless me. Please accept the deepest respect of your insignificant and very grateful, useless servant, Sister Mary of the Cross. Long live Our Lady of LaSalette. And she adds a postscript. Thank you, my most reverend Father, for the 2 large devotional pictures of the Most Holy Madonna of Mount Calvary, which pleased me very much. I put one in my bedroom, the other here at the foot of my large crucifix. So, what do we have? Melanie said, quote, I can only repeat the same thing, my most reverend Father. I have not seen, I do not see a great pope or a great monarch before a great, terrible, and general tribulation for a whole of Christianity. But before this time, this tribulation, there will twice be a peace of little duration, 2 popes, worm-eaten, flat, and doubtful. Now, general tribulation is a term that Melanie uses for the distressing time of the Antichrist. Before that time, Christians will experience 2 brief periods of peace during the reign of 2 corrupt and uninspiring popes. Catholics will feel doubtful, uncertain about their teaching. Peace indicates some kind of respite, but not a time of consolation for Catholics. God bless you.